Hey, what's up, guys? It's Will back once again for another fight card prediction. Thank God the UFC is back in the next 10 days. This 3-week break is a little bit of a killer. Finding it hard to kind of pass the time, not looking forward to this card, so I'm just trying to day by day pass it by. Thanks again for coming and checking out my predictions. I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. I said a few weeks back, maybe 6 weeks, let's see if we can hit 1,000 subscribers before my little baby girl comes in June, and we've already hit it by the end of March. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. 4 years ago, when I started this, I said if I ever hit 500, I've officially made it. To even hit 1,000 is just mind-boggling to me. I really started the page to speak, to give my opinions out in the fights, and see what your guys' opinions is coming back. And it's been really, it was a hard thing to get going, but once I got going and I put my passion into it, I love doing this, and I'm going to continue to do this for as long as I possibly can going forward. So just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart. Everything is really appreciated. It blows my mind a little bit that so many people support me, give me kind words, asking when it's coming out, looking forward to it coming out. It warms the heart to see fellow fight fans just even sitting there and watching me talk about fights, because I'm just a fan just like you. I think there should be more people that should be doing this, and I really hope some of the people that are on my channel that watch should do this as well, and I will support you through all that. Talking of support, as always, I've been saying for the longest time, go and support the guys that are down below me in the drop down box who make videos and have interviews with fighters on the lead up to fight week. Half the Battle Dan Levy is one of my oldest friends for watching videos and stuff. I just really like his stuff. He's always did great stuff. MMA Kelton, a guy I wholeheartedly support. Rockstar Z, UFC Bro Picks, Protect Your Neck podcast with Dan Tom. Dan Tom's one of the best guys for breaking down fights, in my opinion, out there. So shout out to Dan. I hope you're doing well, and keep up the good work, because you're doing great stuff. Shout out to the UFC Betting Sharks on Facebook. I want to say a huge shout out to the Daily Fantasy MMA guys over on Roto Grinders, who've been nothing but great to me. And if you play DraftKings, I think that you should go and spend your money and see the stuff that they have on offer there. They've got a new fight library that Brett's put on there, and it's absolutely amazing. It finds the fights that you should be really looking at for newcomers coming to the UFC or certain fighters coming into the UFC. It's got all them there. It's got a really good chat section, which I'm looking forward to talking to on this card. I missed out on the London card because I was working, but shout out to those guys. If you have the opportunity, go and spend $5.99. $5.99 is nothing to go and find out a lot of really good information on DraftKings and certain things. So please go and support those guys. Go and subscribe to their channel as well. But we're going to get straight into this card, because there is some fights I'm looking forward to talking about, and some fighters I'm looking forward to talking about. So first fight of the night, flyweight division, Jenel Lausa against Magomed Bibulatov. And a really fun fight to start off the night. I actually really like the Fight Pass portion of this card. I think it's just a really fine, 4 fights are on it, a really fine looking 4 fights as well. Lausa is making his second appearance in the UFC after coming off his win over Yao Kui, and I was very impressed in his debut. I know I've seen this guy coming, very crisp boxing. I've watched some of his boxing matches as well. The guy's got some really good hand speed, he's got some power to go along with it. He dropped Yao Kui a couple of times, has some really nice high kicks as well, and it was just overall a really impressive debut. Now I know it was against Yao Kui, who was 2-4 at the time, and it's not a bad debut, to be fair. If you're going to get a fight in a UFC debut, you're going to get a guy with a losing record. That's not bad. He looked impressive though. One thing I didn't like is he got put in his back a little bit, and I think it was twice he got put in his back. And I know that Jaqui's his strength is his grappling, but against moving on to Bibulatov, who is one of these guys that's coming out of Russia. He's just one of those guys, kind of Khabib-esque. It's just really good grappling. His striking's decent as well. He's just a fighter that I've had my eye on for probably a couple of years. He's not been a pro overly long, but I think this guy is destined for the top of the flyweight division or round about there. 13-0 record, former World Series of Fighting, flyweight champion where he beat Donovan Freelo over there, and just any time that Freelo came forward, he put his ass on the ground, put his back against the mat, and just really, every time he did that, he came forward, he did that. And I've seen that in other fights there, that if you come forward in this guy, he's going to put you down, and you can get back to your feet, but if he gets you down a few times, he's going to keep you there, and he's going to look for a submission, and most of the time he does find it. Really looking forward to his debut here. Your typical striker versus grappler. I think that Bibulatov is a little bit more well-rounded fighter. He can strike, he's got some nice spinning back kicks and stuff as well. I think that he's going to find takedowns on Lausa. I think he's going to get them down there. I can maybe see Lausa getting back to his feet a couple of times, but I think Bibulatov could finish this fight. If not, I can see a fairly comprehensive decision there for Bibulatov. I'm actually going to go early third round submission for Bibulatov. Women's bantamweight division, Katlyn Chookgian against Irene Aldana. I've been going back and forward in this one a little bit. I literally, within the last hour to 90 minutes, I've been watching the last couple of fights of these girls, and I kind of switched my pick up last minute. I was originally going to go with Chookgian, but I'm going to actually go with Irene Aldana now. Starting off with Chookgian, we'll start with the last fight. She lost at UFC 205 against Liz Carmouche. Carmouche's a tough fight. I can't believe I actually picked Chookgian in that one, looking back at my prediction for that now, because I knew that if Carmouche got a hold of Chookgian, she was going to take her down, and she did that with aplomb with a couple of huge slams. I thought that Chookgian would hit and move, and I see her doing a lot of that here, but she has got a more friendlier fighter to do that with, because Aldana, I can't see her taking this to the ground, so she's going to look for Aldana to come forward, hit her, then move off. So I think Aldana's going to be like the raging kind of Mexican bull coming forward here, looking to she's going to be the aggressor. And what I didn't like from Aldana in her first fight with Leslie Smith was that she got backed up against the cage. But Leslie Smith has that style where she can really pressure you and get some strikes off, especially early like she did in that one. And she dropped Aldana in that one with a nice right hand, clean on the chin. Aldana got back up really quick and then put her back against the cage, but actually landed some nice shots to move off to get her back off the cage and get back into the fight. And I thought it was a really close fight. Leslie Smith was always ahead in my opinion, but I like Aldana's hand speed. I think she's got some nice head movement when she uses it. Don't like how she dips her head sometimes, considering Chookgian, she dropped Carmouche with a big high kick in that last fight. If she does that, she has to be careful, because say Chookgian can get it up there actually quite quick. I think Aldana, what's his name? Dan Levy, half the battle. He was just saying that he thinks Katlyn might like hit and run and move away and get a unanimous decision. That's very much a plausible situation in this one. I think it could definitely happen. I just think Aldana's going to come forward. She's going to land some strikes and just be the aggressor. And I can see her landing some heavy strikes. Don't see her finishing Chookgian, but I think she can do enough to win 2 rounds and keep. I think it's going to be a close fight either way. I think it's a decision for either girl. But I think if you're looking at finishing more, I think Aldana has more of a chance of finishing. If she backs you up in the cage and unleashes some shots, she can take you out. She did that in Invicta. I know it's a step up here, but is Chookgian a UFC 135 fighter? I'm not sure about that. Is Aldana? I'm not really sure about that. So, but I feel more confident picking Aldana after kind of watching the last few fights within the last hour. But it's probably one of my least confident. It is a pick I'm going to make, but it's not. It's going to go in my least confident picks down below in there as well. I just think it's going to be close, but I prefer going with Aldana here. Lightweight division, Josh Emmett against the debutante in Desmond Green. Desmond Green is a guy we've known about for a long time. He was the Titan champion. I think he was back in Bellator as well. He just doesn't impress me. There's nothing that... I think he's tough. I think that he's a bit of a grinder. I don't like his output. I don't see too much of that there. I think he gasses quite a lot as well, or he has done maybe once or twice in the past. But the guy wins fights, and that's what's a little bit off-putting with this guy, because I think Emmett can gas a little bit as well. But I like Josh Emmett in this one. I liked his last fight against Scott Holtzman, showing that he's got a lot of heart. He's got a little bit of push in him. I think that Green can possibly get him down. Don't think he can maybe keep him there. I'm just a little bit split in this fight, because I can see this being one of these very, very controversial 29s, 28s for... I can see Emmett looking like he's winning the fight and Desmond Green getting the scorecards, which is kind of... That's where I've been thinking regarding that. But I like Josh Emmett in this fight. I think he's on the feet. He's clearly better. He's got more aggression to him. If he can pick his right shots, he can really put it on Desmond Green. I think Green will land a couple of takedowns. Don't think he will keep him there, like I said. This is the fight I won't be betting on, unless the lines are completely off. But my official pick on here is going to be Josh Emmett. Probably, if you were to give me 100%, I'm probably about 65% confident in Josh Emmett in this one. Can see ways for Desmond Green to win. I'm not... When I watch Desmond Green, there's nothing that really jumps off and wows me. And I think it's two guys with pretty close skill sets, and I think it'll be a close fight. So Josh Emmett I'm going to pick him via decision there. Gregor Gillespie against Andrew Holbrook. Good fight. Just watched Andrew Holbrook's fight with Jake Matthews, his last win. That was very close. That could have went either way. I thought Holbrook did enough to win that fight down in Australia, but if Jake Matthews got the decision, got the nod in that one, I wouldn't have disagreed either. I think my pick was Jake Matthews in that one. But a good win for Holbrook down in Australia nonetheless. But I was thoroughly impressed by Gregor Gillespie's debut down in Brazil against Gleico Franca. Franca's a big lightweight. I met him at 197 nearly a year ago, and it was after the fight with James Vick, and he took a little bit of a beating. He ate a lot of jabs that night, but really nice guy, big guy. I couldn't believe how big he was, like very wide, and you seen that in the fight there. Gillespie was a clear few inches shorter than him. Franca was definitely thicker, more swole than what Gillespie was, but Gillespie never stopped, got his takedown. He's an All-American, I think a 4-time All-American wrestler out of Edinburgh University. So the guy's got some really good grappling and wrestling. And I put this on Twitter maybe about a week ago that I think somebody reminds, it was Paul Shaughnessy says, oh no, it wasn't him. It wasn't Paul Shaughnessy. It was somebody else. I think I was talking with him regarding this. A young Frankie Edgar. It reminds me of the young Frankie Edgar back in the days when he came in. He was predominantly a wrestler and his striking was progressing. But I can see that coming with Gillespie, because he showed some really nice combinations, went body head, hit him with a few really nice stiff jabs. But once he put him against the cage, he grinded him, got those takedowns, and he took away the will from Gleico Franca. That's what I think he's going to do in this one. I think Holbrook will look to maybe take it to the ground. I think jiu-jitsu wise, he's probably got more of an edge. On the feet, I think I give it just to Gillespie. But I think he's going to mix it up here, and this is the guy I'm going to pick in DraftKings quite a bit, because I can see him knocking down 6, maybe 7 takedowns, maybe some advances on the ground. Don't see him finishing, but I do like him to win this fight. I'm going to pick him via a unanimous decision. Moving on to the Fox Sports 1 card, starting off in the light heavyweight division. Patrick Cummins against Jan Blachowicz. Patrick Cummins, I don't think should be fighting. I think his chin is there. I think a gust of wind would really take this guy down and put him down. And it's actually a sad state of affairs. I think it was something last year already. He was homeless, so he's not making the money there, and he's just, at the minute, he just seems to be an absolute punching bag for fighters, and I don't like that. Guys, stick around for that. Get out and keep your health in check if you can. But he does have that wrestling there, and that's something that he might be able to exploit against Blachowicz. We've seen that Alexander Gustafsson, pretty much, he wanted none of Blachowicz on the feet, so he decided to use his grappling and his wrestling and took him down and won that via decision. I just think that I think Patrick Cummins is done. I don't think we'll see him in the UFC after this. I think he's going to eat a couple of big shots. Blachowicz's big leg kicks, big body kicks. I think he's going to come out and he's going to pressure Cummins. Cummins is going to start diving for takedowns. He's going to start eating shots, and he's going to go up and he's just going to be wobbling his feet. And I can see Blachowicz just catching him with a big shot and putting him down and just raining some shots on him to win this one. Yeah, feel confident picking Jan Blachowicz. Actually, one of my more confident picks in the card, surprisingly. I just don't like Cummins' chin at the minute. I think he's just deteriorating way too fast. He's took a lot of damage in his UFC career. Could wrestle to a decision here. I don't see it. I think he's just going to get hit with something. So Blachowicz will be the pick there. Second round, TKO. Featherweight division, Charles Rosa against Shane Burgos. Looking forward to seeing this guy again. Shane Hurricane Burgos, I thought his UFC debut back in Albany in December was phenomenal. Against a UFC vet in Thiago Trator. He was just all action and he was in your face and he was just looking to bring the fight there, and he made for an exciting fight. Props to Trator. He took a couple of shots, got laid down a couple of times, got up and kept on fighting. But Burgos, he really impressed me in this one, and he's getting a clear step up here against Charles Rosa, who we haven't seen in about 15-16 months. He had a couple of injuries, he had a contract dispute where I think he's got a new contract with the UFC. But overall, he's a really tough fighter himself. Really, another cool guy. I've met him and pretty cool to be around and just nice to talk to. But he's coming off that win over Kyle Bochniak, where he grinded him out, and that's what you can really expect from Charles Rosa. Try and make it a dirty, grimy fight. And I think Shane Burgos is just going to be... I think he's going to be able to stop the takedowns. Maybe not initially. I think it might start off with Rosa might get one or two, but Burgos is going to end up stopping him. And I think his pace that he sets is going to really bring him forward in this fight. And with his arsenal of strikes that he has, really nice boxing, goes to the body very well. I think he might start pushing Rosa back, where he might start jumping for takedowns as well. And if he doesn't land them, I can see Burgos really hurting him. I think, if I remember right, Burgos is a black belt as well. I could be wrong, it might be a brown belt. I did overhear that, or I did see that when I was doing a little bit of research on him. But I like Shane Burgos in this one, and I like him via a stoppage. I'm going to look inside the distance when that comes out, because I think he can possibly finish Charles Rosa. I think he's got that all-action game. I think this guy can make a name for himself in that great featherweight division. So I'm going to pick Shane Burgos. I'm going to pick him via TKO in round number 3 when both guys are very, very exhausted, very tired. And one of my bets I am looking at for this card is going to be Shane Burgos and Gregor Gillespie in a bet there. So keep an eye on Capertech, Bet MMA Tips, and you'll see what plays I'm making for that card. But pick will be Burgos. Kamaru Usman against Sean Strickland's up next. And this is another fight I've been a little bit back and forward on, but feel more confident in the guy I'm picking just based on his skill set and how tough he is. Strickland, the guy I think has a really, really good jab, like an elite jab within the sport, and he uses it very well. He snaps the head back of fighters very, very hard, and something to really look out for as well. I thought that back in the day I wasn't really too sure in this guy. I wasn't really high on him, but the more I've watched him and kind of progressed, I thought that fight he beat Luke Burnett. I thought he could have possibly lost that in Germany. I thought he actually won the Ponzinibbio fight, beat Araujo, beat Alex Garcia, beat Tom Breeze fairly easily. Well, not fairly easily, he won a split, but it was close. I thought he did more than enough to win that fight. But I think he's got another step up here from anybody's fit. I do rate Ponzinibbio, but I think that Usman is a guy who's very confident at the minute, and his skill set is very stifling. He's a hard guy to fight. So Usman, he's coming off that win over Varley Alves back in November, where he thoroughly impressed me in that one. But if you get past the initial outburst of Varley Alves, you're gonna probably win the fight 8 out of 10 times, because he doesn't have great gas tank. He doesn't. He gets very sloppy. He overcommits, and then he kind of gets dominated, gets put against the cage, or he gets put down, and that's what happened in that one. I mean, he's got a 4-fight win streak himself in the UFC. He's got Hayder Hassan, Leon Edwards, which is a really good win to have in your resume right there. He wrestled him pretty much, Alexander Yakovlev and Vali Alves, so he's building a reputation for himself in that welterweight division. Another win here. He's maybe on the outside looking in of that top 15 division, like a few guys in there. I just like him to grind. I think he might eat a couple of jabs, he might take some shots, but ultimately I think he's going to put him against the cage, and he doesn't care whether he finishes. I just think he wants to win the fight. He's going to make it dirty. I think we could see some fans booing in this one, but I would like to see an evolution of his striking if he goes out and does that. I don't think we will, though, because I think Strickland can piece him up a little bit with that beautiful jab that he has. I think Strickland is a bigger guy with the reach advantage as well. I think that Kamaru Usman is just, I feel more confident picking Usman. I think he's just going to grind him out and get a decision victory there. So decision victory for Kamaru Usman. A little bit of a weird one, like the main fight of the UFC prelims. It's Myles Jury against Mike De La Torre. I totally and utterly forgot about Myles Jury. I was wondering where he went, and then when I heard this matchup was made, I was like, oh, interesting, he's coming back. But is he going to be the fighter we've seen before that loss to Donald Cerrone? Because Donald Cerrone just put an absolute beat down, and I think he knocked every bit of confidence out of Myles Jury there. I think he left the lines, went to Power MMA, and as my good friend Dan Levy says, fade Power MMA at all, kind of all costs. Hashtag fade Power MMA, and it's kind of working out, to be fair. So at the minute, and then he kind of ran into a submission with Charles Oliveira. He put his neck in there, and he just got put to sleep. So a little bit hard matchup to see how it's going to go. We need to see how Myles Jury is on fight week. If this was a couple of years back, I would pick Myles Jury 99 out of 100 times. Mike De La Torre is coming off that loss to Godofredo Pepe, and Pepe was just wild in that one and came forward and looked to just throw big strikes, looked to get into submission, chain his submissions to try and find a submission there, and eventually got one, and De La Torre had to tap out. As I say, I think Jury's just a better fighter. I think eventually, if he keeps a hard pace up, he could stop De La Torre. So I'm going to pick Myles Jury to win via submission in round number 2. Not a matchup I'm entirely looking forward to, but nice to see Myles Jury back, because the guy has some talent there and he's always shown it. So moving on to the main card, we've got 5 fights here. And the first couple of them is not great, in all honesty. Will Brooks against Charles Oliveira is the first fight in the pay-per-view. Will Brooks, big fight for him here, coming off that loss to Alex Oliveira. He broke his rib in that fight, and he just didn't look... I didn't think he looked great. I thought Oliveira, as we've seen now, is a guy who's very awkward, very kind of long and languid, very strong, and once he gets the upper hand, he can put a beat down on you, and that's what he did with Will Brooks, and that was a bit of an eye-opener for a lot of people. I thought that he'd win the fight. I didn't see how Oliveira could really out-grapple him and just beat him up a little bit, put him against the cage and hold him there, but it shows you the strength of Cowboy, I should say, there. Charles Oliveira, big fight for this guy. I mean, he's lost his last 2 fights. It is to Lamas and Anthony Pettis. I know he lost to Max Holloway in that one as well within last year. So his last win was Myles Jury, and that was away back in December of 2015. Submission losses, surprisingly enough, to Lamas and Anthony Pettis. And the one thing that I'll say about this one, I read a couple of weeks ago that literally on the day that he's supposed to fight in Buffalo, his birth of his first child is due to take place on that very day, which threw me off completely. Tried to look more into it, can't find any more in it, so whether it's true or not is another thing. I did read that, I think it was MMAfighting.com, it could have been Jeremy Cruz that scene wrote that, could be wrong, but that's kind of thrown me off in this one. But I don't know whether I can trust Will Brooks to not put his head in there and get submitted, because if you do that against DuBronx, he will put you to sleep. He's did that many a time, and he's a tough fighter to get past, but once you get past the initial burst, you can beat him down. And I think that he needs to really mix up his striking, because I think he can strike with Oliveira. I think he can land at some big power shots, and then maybe mix in his wrestling a little bit. I feel more confident picking Will Brooks. Wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if Oliveira got a submission win. Just don't feel confident picking him. I don't know where his head's going to be at if his child is born on that day. Give me Will Brooks. Give me a win via decision in that one there. Maybe a 29-28. We'll see, or a 30-27. But my pick will be Will Brooks via decision. Apologies about that. Next up we have Thiago Alves fighting Patrick Cote. Two elder statesmen of the UFC. Kind of a nothing fight. These first two fights shouldn't be paid. Well, maybe Will Brooks should be in a pay-per-view, maybe before his last fight, but this should be on the prelims, I believe. Maybe Usman and Strickland should have got this spot, but I can see where they're going by putting this on here. I think that, personally, Patrick Cote has just got more fighting than what Thiago Alves is. Thiago Alves is trying to make 155. He was never making 155. Missed weight at UFC 205. Lost to Jim Miller. And I just think he'll start off strong. He will land those vicious leg kicks that he's got. But I think Cote's overall game will just trump him in this one. I really, really do. Cote's coming off that loss to... I forgot now. Let me see. Oh, Cerrone. Yeah, of course. Beautiful knockout by Donald Cerrone. Before that, he was beating Joe Riggs, not in the UFC. Josh Buckman, soon to be not in the UFC. Ben Saunders is a good win via TKO in that one there. I just think overall, Cote, he'll get takedowns if he wants them in this fight. I think he can strike with Thiago Alves. Needs to be careful though, because Thiago Alves still has that power and those big leg kicks that he can whip in there and really, really hurt people with. I just think that Thiago Alves is done. I think he's. I'm not one for taking shots at fighters before the whole USADA thing kicked in, but I think you can see that that's had an effect on him. The weight cuts, not great. I feel more confident picking Patrick Cote, and I'm going to pick him here. I'm going to pick him via decision yet again, and moving on, we've got a showcase fight here for, well, not a showcase fight, a big fight for Cynthia Calvillo to really put herself out there, let's say. Cynthia Calvillo against Pale Gonzalez here, who's making a UFC debut. This literally got made 2 weeks ago, very, very quickly, and interesting that it's on the pay-per-view, so they're obviously they see something in Calvillo, they can give her a push. She's coming off a really fine victory. It was at UFC 208, I believe it was, against Amanda Cooper, where she took her down there and she transitioned so well. 209 it was in Vegas, and she just looked like there was no nerves with her. She came in, she really looked composed, and really, wherever the fight was going to go, I had confidence. I think I bet it was via KO submission at plus 120. As soon as I seen that, I liked that bet, put it on, and she got that first round finish over Cooper. She's not great, but she's tough. It's a tough debut. I actually think she's a tougher opponent than what her opponent for this next fight is. Team Alpha Male, been training with Hector Sandoval, Joseph Morales, rolling with the UFC bantamweight champion in Cody Garbrandt. Kind of interesting that Paige Van Zandt left Team Alpha Male after the Calvillo debut, so that maybe says that she's seen Calvillo coming, was maybe going to take some of her spotlight, maybe not. But interesting to see that Van Zandt's left Team Alpha Male and moved on. And we've got another young up-and-coming fighter out of Alpha Male. Watch Pale Gonzalez, she's got a couple of wins in there to kind of take note of. A few years back, maybe 4 years ago, there was Courtney Casey Sanchez, who's in the UFC, got a fight coming up, I believe. And in that fight, I thought Casey nowadays would finish Gonzalez. She had opportunities to get the submissions in they fights and just didn't take them. But she is very crafty on the ground, is Gonzalez, so that's something that we have to look out for. Look out for here. And but I think Calvillo, wherever this goes, the pressure that she puts on opponents eventually makes them quit, and I see that happening in this fight here. I see her opening up with strikes to pushing Gonzalez against the cage, and from there it's going to hit the ground whether she gets taken down or she gets the takedown, and from there I can see her transitioning and just finding a submission. And I think if she gets the opportunity, I think she will submit Pearl Gonzalez here. And but Gonzalez, to be fair, is quite sneaky on the ground as well. I just think Calvillo's pressure and tenacity is just going to be a little bit too much. So that's leading me to that pick there. I'm going to go an early second round submission for Cynthia Calvillo. And one bet I'm looking at over here in the UK is we have Calvillo inside the distance at plus 200. Under 2.5 rounds at plus 200. So that's what I'm looking at betting. I'm still a little bit not sure about it yet, but as I say, keep an eye on Twitter or whatever, and you'll see what bets I make there. Calvillo's the pick, submission round number 2. Co-main event of the night, Chris Weidman against Gegard Mousasi in a very interesting fight, and a fight which I have been going back and forward with. I've been watching other people's comments on who they're picking or who they might be betting, and the reasons for why they are. Originally, this is a fight I've been going back and forward on. I've literally made a decision in the last 2 or 3 days that where I'm going to go with this one, and I'm not feeling overly confident about it, but my pick is actually going to be Chris Weidman in this one, surprisingly enough. I thought when I heard this fight was being made, I was pretty much 100% behind Mousasi, and maybe that was a little bit biased because I've seen his last 2 performances live, and it is hard to pick against him because he looks very calm and very composed and everything at the minute. But Chris Weidman, he's back against the wall. His 2 fighters that he's lost to is Romero and Rockhold, 2 of the top guys in the division, where if you look at Mousasi, look who he's beat. Uriah Hall, that was a fight, if he fought a couple of years ago when he would have won that fight, but he got hit with a spinning back kick and that really hurt him. Thiago Santos, these guys are barely top 15 guys, if that, whereas Weidman, he has lost to the elite guys in the division. In that fight with Romero, it was very close. It was maybe a round each, and he just got hit with a howitzer of a huge knee that opened up a massive cut, and that was that. But he's, make no doubt about it, he's back against the wall here. Losing 3 fights in a row in the UFC nowadays is not a good recipe to be sticking around. Gegard Mousasi, as I said, I've seen his last 2 fights, very patient, very just overall a great fighter, a very technically sound fighter, and he dismantled Belfort, didn't really push himself, waited for Belfort to get gassed, and then just took him out from there. And then in Belfast, I thought he looked phenomenal, and just got the first round stoppage of Uriah Hall there. I just think that Chris Weidman's going to go back to his wrestling here, and he will get takedowns, and I think this is going to be a very close fight. I might actually bet Chris Weidman. I think he's plus 115 or plus 110 over here in the UK. That might climb, which would be quite nice. That's something I'm a little bit unsure of, but I might make that bet. But I am a little bit back and forward in this one because I am those fights with Mousasi, and I've seen how like his demeanour and how he's coming on is pretty good. So I can see a lot of people going against me in this one, but I'm going to go Chris Weidman. I'm going to go via a 29-28 decision. Not overly confident. Out of 100%, probably 60% confident in Chris Weidman, if that. And in the main event, we have Daniel Cormier defending his UFC Light Heavyweight title against Anthony Rumble Johnson in a rematch of a fight at UFC 187 a couple of years back. Nearly 2 years ago now, believe it or not, which is quite... where those 2 years went. But I've watched taping them for the last 2 weeks, watched some more this afternoon, just to try and solidify who I was going to go with, and I am going to stick with my pick of Daniel Cormier, which I've had pretty much. Rumble is... put it this way, I want Rumble to win the fight. I think he'd be a great champion, he'd be a fun champion, but I just think that Cormier is not a good matchup for him, because if you watch the first fight, you'll see that anytime... The one thing that I think that Johnson needs to really do in this fight is stay composed. If he loses composure like he did in the first fight, I mean, he hit Cormier. Cormier went down, and then he started swinging, and he overcommitted himself, and then he got taken down. And from there, he really did nothing else in that fight, except maybe in the second round, he landed some pretty vicious head kicks, which were kind of blocked a little bit. Cormier maybe ate a little bit of it. But once Cormier got his hands on Rumble really had no answer for him, and he did take down Cormier at one point as well, but you could see the will in the fight coming out of Anthony Johnson, and he beat that out of him. And you seen what I hate was Henry Hoof saying, don't quit, don't give up. I hate that, and you seen it. And Johnson just he kind of gave up in that fight a little bit towards there. He got a cut opened up, and I really shouldn't say quit in there because he's a true fighter. But from what I've seen, it looks like he just wanted to get out of there. But there is a few things that have changed up. I mean, he's left the Black Zillions, went to the Combat Club, working with Neil Melanson since then. He's beat Manoa, Teixeira with a vicious knockout. So he has beat guys. I think Bader was another one he destroyed there as well. So there is fighters that he's totally destroying in there. I just think DC's not a good matchup for him. But Cormier is coming off some injuries as well. So that's something we need to take note of here. If both guys in that Silva fight as well at UFC 200, he took some shots and he didn't like it, body shots from Anderson Silva in the third round there, and he didn't look great in that fight, but you can see, I mean, he had his fight fall out with John Jones, so that's something that sucked straight away, that maybe takes the life out of there. He still wanted to fight, fought Silva, beat Silva. I just think that this fight's we've already seen how this fight goes, and I don't see it changing. Maybe that's just me not looking into it enough and just being too headstrong on Cormier. I just think that this is going to be a repeat. I think he's going to last the first 5-7 minutes. Maybe it'll be quite close then, but then I see Cormier taking over. I think he has the better gas tank, better wrestling. We'll take this to the ground and he'll find a submission later on. So my pick is going to be Daniel Cormier via 4th round submission. I'm going to go a rear naked choke again. I think he's going to find a way to get his back and make Anthony Rumble Johnson tap out. So yeah, that's my pick. DC sub 4th round. So that's my picks for UFC 210. Looking forward to the next card. UFC on Fox. Mighty Mouse Johnson against Wilson Hayes. There are some great fights on that card. Some fighters I'm really looking forward to. The UFC debut of Tom Duquesnoy. Aljamain Sterling's on there. We've got Rashid Magomedov, Elliott versus Smolka. Badass fights. Looking forward to that. Expect that out next week. I'll be back then. Come follow me on Twitter, WillMartin7MMA. Give me a like, give me a comment, subscribe if you can, and I'll see you all next week for UFC on Fox 24. Take care, enjoy the fights when those come around in about 10 days' time. Thank you.